We are sticking with the tradition of filming this video outside, so that is why we have a little bit of a change of scenery. And it actually feels really cool outside today because we had a huge storm last night, so I'm not mad about it. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Liz, and in today's video we are going to be doing my mid-year freakout tag, mid-year check-in, whatever you like to call it. But basically I'm just going to run through all of my reading goals for the year, just kind of seeing how well I'm doing at keeping up with them. And then also I want to say 10 different tags ranging about like the types of books I've been reading, and we'll chat about those. Without further ado, let's get into my 2026 reading goals. If you have been following me since last year, you might remember I only did one reading goal last year, and that was just to get to 100 books. That's like my stereotypical goal every single year, is to get to 100. But this year I actually made 5 goals for myself, which some I know I'm going to complete and some aren't looking very good halfway through the year. The first one is reading 100 books, which I think I definitely will reach. Right now at this point, I am at 66 books out of 100. So we are on track for that. Number 2, explore genres, which I think is another one that I'm actually doing really well at. I'm the type of person who sticks to like 3 different genres and that's it. And that is fantasy, romance, and mystery thrillers. But now I feel like I'm slowly getting into graphic novels. I'm getting into short stories. I'm getting into horror, a little bit of sci-fi. So I do feel like I'm expanding what I read, which is really, really good because I've discovered some new authors and some new favorite books doing it that way. Number 3, cut my TBR in half. I work in a bookstore. When you are a bookseller, you are given a lot of different arcs of new upcoming releases. There's also times where the book is damaged and the publisher doesn't want it back. Then we can either give it away or donate it, and sometimes they're up for grabs. And so sometimes I get books that way as well. Books are expensive. I know I'm going to eventually read this book, so I'm going to take it home with me. So I haven't been doing too hot. I will say I've been trying to be better at unhauling. So I have been going through my total library and been getting rid of and selling and doing that. There have been arcs and damaged books and things that I've brought home that I've like reevaluated over a certain period of time and then given away to friends or family. I do feel like I am unhauling a good chunk, but I do know I'm definitely not probably going to get my TBR cut in half by the end of this year. But that's why it's a goal. It's a goal for a reason. And I knew it was very ambitious when I said it. We're just going to hope that maybe I can get like a quarter of my TBR cut off. We shall see. Number 4 is using my book bank, which I explained this at the beginning of the year. So I have this book bank. Sorry if you can hear the birds. They're very loud and proud today. Basically, it's this little jar I keep on my bookshelf where every time I finish a book, then I can add $5 to it. If I sell a book, whatever money I'm able to make from that book can also be added to the book bank. And then this is what I use whenever I go book shopping, is my book bank, which I have been actually doing a pretty good job with that because I have been reading a lot. But I don't know if you even count free books. Like free books, I didn't pay for them. So like I didn't have to use my book bank money for it. So I don't know. There's a lot of gray area there. Depending on your opinion, then you might think that I have been following the goal, or maybe I've been failing incredibly at it. And number 5 is completing series, which I do think I'm doing a decent job at that. Since I have my series tracker in my reading journal, that's been helping. Also, I've been doing like quarterly completing series vlogs, which I think is also helping because that motivates me to read those series. So I do think that I'm doing a decent job. So really, if you think about it, like 3 of the 5 for sure gonna complete or have been doing a good job at. I'm gonna count it as a win. And then another goal I had for this year, I want to read 26 books in 2026, like 26 specific books that I picked out at the beginning of the year. I do have a video for that. And at this point in time, I believe I'm at 10 out of 26. I'm not halfway, but I'm close to halfway. I'm actually way further along than I was last year when I did this. That's improvement, and I'll take it. Now let's get into some of these book tags. The first book tag I have is best book so far. I can't just do one, so I'm gonna do 2. The first book I could think of was Into the Blue by Emma Brody. This is a romance. It's a different style of romance than I'm used to. Usually your typical romance takes place over the course of like a smaller window of time, whereas this one actually takes place over the course of a decade. It's following these 2 characters who meet when they're like junior or seniors in high school, and they both get a summer job at this like Blockbusters like video store. They have very different personalities, but they quickly bond over the fact that they have the same favorite TV show or movie series. Think Star Trek. Through this, they start hanging out more, and we meet our male main character's aunt, who's actually a very famous actress, and she starts giving them acting lessons, and they become like scene partners. And through this whole process, they discover that they have a ton of chemistry on screen and in real life, obviously. And then one day our male main character just disappears. He leaves and no word to our female main character. And then we flash forward years in the future and they meet each other again whenever they're in the workforce. They're both, trying to make it big in their respective careers. It just keeps jumping through different periods of time where they meet back up and rediscover their chemistry that they have with each other. This is one of the most heartbreaking romance books I've read in a very long time because there's a reason why our male main character is playing hard to get. Felt very realistic, and the way that they both handled this reason, my heart broke for them. I laughed, I cried, and I just felt so much empathy for these characters. They felt very real to me. And the second one is Bright Years by Sarah DeMoff. I loved Bright Years. You guys, I have never sobbed harder. I was sobbing into my pillow past my bedtime. This book, I don't even know how to fully explain it. You go through a little bit of everything with our characters. It's taking place over the course of many, many years, many decades, but our main characters both have a lot of generational trauma that they are working through from their past, from their families. It just shows how these cycles can happen, and it shows them trying to break that cycle. And it was so beautiful, heartbreaking, heartwarming. I wanted to throw my book so many times, and then I wanted to just give it a warm hug so many times. Both of these books were definitely my top favorites of this year. The next book tag is Best Sequel. This one is hard because by this point in the year, if I'm not keeping up with my series, then I might not have a best sequel. But in this case, since I have been keeping up with my series, I do have one, and that is going to be Rights of the Starling by Debney Perry. This is book 2 after Shield of Sparrows, which I gave 5 stars last year, and I was so excited. This is one of my anticipated releases of this year. I'm so glad that I read it because it was incredible. You do get introduced a brand new POV in this one, which I found at first I was like, why do I care? But it truly does come full circle by the end. It makes total sense why we get this other POV, and I think it just added to my reading experience. It gave me a fuller picture, and I just loved it, and also ended on a cliffhanger, which I knew was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen, but do I regret it? No, I don't. It's a fantasy world where there are these creatures, these monsters that are roaming the world, so it's very dangerous. Our female main character, she's a princess who was given away in an arranged marriage. So in book 1, you see her trying to learn the new politics and things of this brand new kingdom while also trying to survive day to day. And book 2 just kind of picks up where book 1 left off. Our third book tag, we have new release you haven't read yet but want to. There's a couple on here that I'm shocked that I haven't read yet, but I'm going to be changing that very, very soon. The first one is Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah Parker. This is book 2 after When the Moon Hatched, which I read 2 years ago, and I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. It's a very thick and chunky romantasy book, but I flew through it within 24 hours. Like, it had me hooked. I could not put it down. And I think the only reason why I haven't started book 2 yet is because I feel like I need to reread book 1. I always feel guilty rereading books because I'm like, there's so many books that I haven't read that I want to read. And so the thought of going back and rereading a book that I've already completed just makes me feel guilty. That is why I've been waiting on Ballad of Falling Dragons, because I know I need to read book 1 again. I've been talking to a few people who've read it, and they told me, they're like, you loved book 1 so much. Who cares if you have to read it again? Like, you're going to love it a second time, and which they are so right for saying that. And the second new release that I'm shocked I haven't read yet is Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. I'm actually about to start it on audio. It has been blowing up lately, and I need to be a part of that conversation. This is following a social media influencer who's a trad wife, and she gets sent back in time to a time period where she actually gets to live out that lifestyle for real. I've heard such mixed reviews on the ending of this book. I'm very excited to start listening to it. Book tag number 4, we have most anticipated new release in the second half of the year. So these are books that are not out yet. Guys, I feel like this is, if you know me, you probably can guess what my top 2 are going to be. Number 1, this one I think is no surprise, and that is Knave in the Moon by Rachel Gillig. This is book 2 in her Night and Moth duology. I gave Night and the Moth 5 stars last year, devoured it. This is following our main character who is a diviner. So for a living, what she does is she will drown, have these very intense dreams and visions of these symbols, and then when she wakes up, she interprets them for people, and she's kind of like almost like a fortune teller or like a seer for people who travel to this estate that she lives on with other diviners. Her other diviners, who she calls like her sisters, start to go missing, and so she ends up going on this journey to find them with the help of a knight who does not believe in this divining that she and her sisters do, and a gargoyle who you is my favorite side character that I've ever read in a book named Bartholomew. If you know, you know, I have a gargoyle statue on my bookshelf just for Bartholomew. And the other new release that I am so excited for is ACOTAR 6. Guys, why do we not have any information on this book yet? It's coming out in a handful of months, like this fall. What you doing, SJM? Come on, girl. I have been debating if I'm going to reread ACOTAR and Crescent City leading up to this. I think I might have to. So I'm going to be doing a lot of rereads this year, which isn't great for my book goal, but is what it is. And I feel like I don't really need to explain what this book is about. Just know that it's very good and that you should read it. Book tag number 5, we have Biggest Disappointment. There's a couple books that could have fit on here, but the one that comes to mind, the one that I had such high hopes for and then was so let down, is Sing the Night. I was reading it for a book club that I'm in, and it is inspired by Phantom of the Opera, which that concept immediately hooked me. I was so excited for this book. I've read, I think, one, if not two, Phantom of the Opera inspired books before, and I loved them. However, it felt like it was a YA story with new adult writing. Does that make sense? It just felt way younger than it should have been, even though our characters were in their 20s. It felt like they were high schoolers with the way that they were acting, the choices that they were making. This could have hit so hard, but instead I was so let down. I was so bored. It had very lyrical and pretty writing. I'll give the author that, like very beautiful writing. But the book itself and what was happening, I was so bored. I think I ended up giving it like 2 stars. This one just did not hit for me, sadly. Book tag number 6, we have Biggest Surprise. So this one I put 2 because there were 2 that I went in thinking that they were going to be on the slower side, but I was pleasantly surprised. The first one is Road to Tender Hearts by Annie Hartnett. I had heard good things about this book, but also at the same time I was like, is this going to be for me? I ended up listening to it as an audiobook and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with this world and with these characters. This is following a man who I think he's in his 60s or 70s, and he wins the lottery and he decides to go on this cross-country road trip to meet up with his high school sweetheart. On this journey, he ends up taking along with him a cat who can predict death, which if you read the book, you know what that means, and his daughter, who he does not have a good relationship with, and then 2 children who he takes guardianship over, and they're technically his grand niece and nephew. It was just such a heartwarming story. It also had a lot of dark humor mixed in. It was a weird combination, but it just worked, and I loved following this weird cast of characters because they were all just so unique, so distinct. They all had their own thing that they were going through, and it felt very well-rounded. Just a very ragtag crew of characters. And the second book that also was a surprise was This Book Made Me Think of You by Libby Page. This is definitely on the more emotional side of things. This is following our main character who lost her husband, I think 6 months ago, and she gets a call from her local bookstore that her husband actually bought her a year's worth of books. Every month she is gifted a new book, one that he had picked out for her, and he wrote a letter inside of it explaining why he chose it for her. And he bought this gift knowing he was dying, so you can imagine how sad his notes are to her, and just like the whole grieving process she's going through, it's still very fresh losing him, and he's wanting her to move forward and start over and do what's best for her. You're also getting chapters from our bookseller who's gifting her the books. You're getting chapters from his POV as well, which I think just really added to the story. I think it's just a really great book on forgiveness and moving on. It gave me all the feels. Our 7th book tag is Favorite New Author. This one I think is a no-brainer because I read 2 of her books this year for the first time and I loved both of them, and that is Sarah DeMoff, who wrote Burning Side, and she also wrote Bright Years. So I gave Bright Years 5 stars, and then I gave Burning Side I think like 4.5. So it was like right up there. She does such a great job with family dynamics and making you feel like these characters are real. They're going through very real problems and issues. I think they're very relatable. She can take you through the course of someone's life and you feel like you know this person. All of her choices with how she does her chapters, with the different timelines, with the different POVs is all very intentional. I am so excited for any books that this author puts out in the future. The next book tag I have is Newest Fictional Crush. This is always hard for me because I'll read books and be like, oh, he'd be a great book boyfriend. But I don't always like have ones that like stick with me. I think the one for me is Noah from Into the Blue. I loved him. Very flawed. He felt very real. Also, just the way he cares for our main character in that book, tries to do what's best for her. You can tell like he truly loves her. It just gave me the warm fuzzies. What can I say? So yeah, he's going to be my newest fictional crush this year. The next book tag I have is Book That Made You Cry. There were 2 books in particular that made me ugly cry. First one is Bright Years, which you guys already knew. And the second one is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is her newest release. This is about a female astronaut and it's taking place back in, I want to say like 1980s or 1970s. 1970s, late 1970s, somewhere in there. Her story, Joan, I just want to meet Joan. I want to have a Joan in my life. I loved her. She was such a great main character to follow because she's so loyal, she's so forgiving, she's so kind and caring, and just all of it. I loved following her story, and yeah, I was crying very ugly tears by the end of that book. And the final book tag we are going to chat about is the most beautiful book that I've bought this year. This one's hard because I buy a lot of pretty books. I'm shallow like that. Most of the books I buy because they're pretty. But the two that stand out for me for this one is, first one is Poet Empress by Shen Tao. This was another book club book that I read this year, and the dust jacket, stunning. The naked hardcover, also stunning. And the other book that is also the most beautiful, have not read this one yet, is Voidverse by Damien Ober. This is a sci-fi book, which I'm planning on buddy reading with my coworker probably within the next couple of months. It's very pretty. It also has like this cutout on the front cover, and then when you take off the dust jacket, like it makes sense why there's that cutout, and it's just really pretty. Something about like the all black, something about it just pleases my brain, I guess. And that is going to be it for our mid-year check-in. I feel really good going into the second half of this year. I am in the process of moving, which I feel like I've said in like so many videos at this point. Life is very chaotic right now, but that is not taking away from my reading. I have been so motivated to read lately, and that feels really good, especially going into the summer. I feel like I have a lot of really great books planned to read, and the fall we have so many great new releases coming out, and I'm just so excited. So far 2026 has been a great year for reading. Thank you guys for following along with me. I hope your year has been going great. It doesn't matter how many books you read or what books you read, as long as you're having fun and enjoying the books you're reading. That's really all that matters. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Happy reading. Bye.